Hello and welcome to Sports Voice. I'm Sammy Krimstein. This is my co-host Claire Connor, and this is going to be our last time doing this here in the OSER. It's been a run. We've been doing this for a year now. Crazy. It's flown by really fast, and we both had a incredible time hosting this show, and we can't wait to do it one more time here tonight. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. Claire?
Sammy, you're absolutely right. I've had just the most incredible time being a Sports Voice host. The two of us have had so much fun. It does feel bittersweet. It's the end of an era for us. There's a lot of fun things that we'll recap during this episode. But it's also the start of a new era of Sports Voice.
We're excited
which is
to
really
see.
exciting.
Yeah.
Y'all will have two new hosts come spring. Sammy and I will be working on other things within WNUR. Will still hopefully appear on the occasional Sports Voice episode.
Definitely. I'll have to come back for sure.
Yes, and so we're very excited for that. We're very excited to be guests again. But for now, with this earlier finals week episode, special edition season finale of Sports Voice that we have, I think we can jump right into it and get into some basketball, Sam.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. And first things first, let's see who we got on the show today. It's Matt and it's Pearson. Shout out to these guys, both Sports Voice legends. Glad to have them on the show. And we'll get into some basketball. But guys, how's it going? How is the whole final situation treating you? I know it can be quite the brutal time here in the quarter system.
Am I blocking you from the camera? I don't
No,
know.
we are.
We're
You
good?
guys are both good. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
All good.
In terms of finals week, I actually got really lucky, and all of my finals ended up on reading week. So, which at first that sounds that sounds terrible because it's like, why would you want to take your finals a week earlier than everybody else? But then you realize, while everybody else is studying, you're just getting it over with. And once you're done, you're done. You don't have anything to worry about. You have a week to kill. So, I'm great. Electric. That's the first time That's the first time this word has been used. I beat you and Claire to the punch. Like, what's going on, Sammy? Like,
It's
It's a great word.
We're old dogs learning new tricks at this point. It's a little different.
Tough to stay ahead of the times.
But yeah, Pearson, how's your week going?
Honestly, the same. I mean, maybe Matt, myself, and Wyatt are the only comms people. I think all three of us are done. I had all my finals in reading week as well. The trade-off was I had 3 finals last Monday, which was very rough. It was all on the same day. But that's the trade-off. I did that. I had one on Thursday, and I've been done ever since. I mean, maybe a couple assignments and stuff to go with professors. But besides that, I mean, I'm having a good weekend, and I'm glad I can wrap it up with Sports Voice.
Yeah, no better way, depending on where you think Sunday is in the week, no better way to start or end your week than with Sports Voice. I know.
Starting us off controversially.
Yeah, that's that may have to be a debate for the next Sports Voice host. But yeah, let's get into the sports, and it's a big week in Northwestern sports. The official end of the men's basketball season, and we've had this constant conversation every single week, but you just wonder what this team would have done, what this team would have been if they were healthy, and if some things that were just luck went their way, especially when we talk about officiating, which was a thing for Northwestern throughout the season and a common complaint. So Big Ten tournament was last week, or all the way up until today. Northwestern beat Minnesota in their first game pretty handedly. Really good performance. But Wisconsin was just too much for them. They made a bit of a push towards the end, but all things considered, Wisconsin was just the better team, like they were when these two squared off in the regular season. So I want to turn over to our incredible guests here and get some insight. The season is over. Let's get a word to describe this season for Northwestern. We actually, I think, did this last week, but new guests, and I want to get you guys, want to get the perspective because now the season is over, unlike last week. So, one word to describe what was an interesting season for Northwestern.
you can go start. I'm probably yapping. So.
Okay. For me, I was on the show last week. I honestly don't remember what I said. But I guess following that loss, I guess I'll say relieved. almost. I don't know if that's a kind of a weird word to describe this season, but I almost feel like it could have been a lot worse. Almost. I think that it was encapsulated by a lot of unfortunate events, a lot of injuries for players who I wish were out there for longer, and it's almost that kind of the end of the season is almost just like, it was really fun. It's my freshman year. I was able to go to a ton of games, and I had a blast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, it kind of felt like this old guard was kind of finally running out of gas, and I feel like I'm kind of, maybe the other word is excited, almost, because the future looks really, really bright for Northwestern. And so, I mean, following this season with a disappointing end result, I mean, next year will definitely be even more exciting, maybe even more expectations.
I had to reach deep into my vocabulary for this one, but I'm gonna say tumultuous because this is a season
Good word.
that has just been absolutely insane. Like, okay, let's do a quick rundown. Even though everybody and their mom has probably has done this type of thing on the show, but let's do a quick recap of the season. Brooks Bornheiser starts off on the bench, comes back and plays like one of the best players in the Big Ten. Re-injures his foot in that game against Maryland and continues to play until the trainers rule him out. And then 2 games later, Jalen Leach tears his ACL, is out for the season. Nick Martinelli then has the greatest game of his career against USC shortly after Brooks Bornheiser gets hurt and single-handedly wins the game for the Wildcats. He ends up leading the Big Ten in minutes and points per game. Gets snubbed from the Big Ten All-First team, but we won't go into that.
We may have to go into that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, this team ends up making the Big Ten tournament, but gets a hotel where they have 80-degree rooms. They can't sleep. 85-degree rooms. They can't sleep. Nick Martinelli and Angelo Cheravino are literally rubbing ice all over their bodies because it's so cold. They somehow win in the first round. They somehow beat Minnesota, and then they got crushed by Wisconsin. And now Chris Collins may or may not go to Villanova next season.
I don't think so.
If that doesn't tell, I know, but I'm just saying, if that doesn't tell you how crazy this season has been in the world of Northwestern basketball, especially coming off of 2 March Madness appearances, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say about that?
Matt, I think tumultuous is right, and
Good
now that
word.
we've taken care of our SAT prep, we can get into the future of this team, which you've already discussed. I think, if you're Northwestern, you got to keep Chris Collins. We know Villanova's interested. We've heard Indiana's interested. There are a lot of schools that want him. In a way, maybe not succeeding as much in the Big Ten tournament helps us because the price could have gone up, had we made some sort of a run there. And so, maybe that helps Northwestern a little bit. I think the chances, he's a Chicago guy. He's a Northwestern guy. It's in the family. It's in his blood. I do see him staying here. And I think as long as that happens, the Cats are kind of, they're entering next year with a chip on their shoulder, as they should. If you're Nick Martinelli, you're still upset about everything that happened at that Big Ten tournament, about the rest of your season. Your teammates were injured, missing, first team despite being, the best scorer in the Big Ten. That's devastating for him. He could come back stronger than ever. You've got, a new freshman class coming in. This is a team that, played a really solid game against Wisconsin, which went on to the finals of the Big Ten tournament and lost to Michigan in a really good game. Like, it's, I think that there is still a lot of vitality in this team despite the season that they've had, or perhaps because of the season that they've had, and that they can kind of, they have an opportunity to take that fight with them into next year.
Yeah, I know, 100% agree. And on the Collins discussion, before we get to some of the future talk, I mean, I don't think I think it can be talked about, but there's no way he's leaving. I mean, you listen to this guy talk in press conferences.
I'm praying this doesn't show up on like the Freezing Cold Takes Twitter, but
yeah, maybe I'll appear on Freezing Cold Takes, but I would be absolutely shocked if Chris Collins left this program this year. I mean, all the adversity they went through, and I mean, not only the connection he clearly has to this program, not only the fact that he resurrected this program, honestly gave birth to a program that really had never had long-term success. Not only all of those things, he is bringing in one of the best recruiting classes in the country, the best recruiting class in this school's history next season. I mean, if I'm Chris Collins, this is when you stay. you're building something. You just have a team that faced a lot of adversity that's so hungry to win. That's so and is right there. It has the talent. Nick Martinelli's coming back, and you're bringing in one of the best freshman classes in the country. I mean, look, if Chris, he would be a fool to leave. He would be a fool to leave. I mean, Villanova, Indiana, I don't care. Northwestern, he fits Northwestern like a glove, and I can't see that happening. But I mentioned the freshman class. Pearson, you mentioned the future. Let's talk about the future. Where do we see this team going next year? What's going to happen?
I mean, I honestly think that what's really cool is that you have players like KJ Wyndham and Angelo Schiavino who took clear steps throughout the season. They probably got more playing time than they maybe themselves expected or were promised at the start of the season.
Wyndham, yeah.
And I think that's awesome. And also Jordan Clayton, obviously expected to redshirt, and he actually got some playing time this year. And I think that those three players are players who will play huge roles next season. We saw kind of glimpses of what those roles could be. But with a whole offseason practicing with the team, knowing the system, and kind of shifting into a veteran role almost, I mean, granted, yes, they're still underclassmen, but those are the guys who you'd like to see to build those connections. I mean, Brooks and Nick have such a close friendship, and you'd love to see that KJ and Angelo kind of have that with some of the freshmen coming in. I mean, I think that this is a really cool time for Northwestern.
Yeah.
I think for Collins, I hope he stays. I think there's a high chance he stays. I mean, I guess the only thing is, like, with the new class coming in and kind of as a guy who likes to build a program from the bottom up and have guys stay for all 4 or 5 years, I guess this would be the only time that makes sense for him to leave. Like, I just was with my family, and my dad was like, if he were to leave, like, when's the best season to do that? I think this is probably the only one. But I don't think there will be offers enough to entice him unless Villanova puts, like, all the red idol money or something on him, which I think is maybe the only team that could draw him, because I don't see him betraying Northwestern going to a Big Ten foe, especially not Indiana. But I think that the future is really cool. I mean, having two kind of big men coming in, which was a huge kind of hole in this team this season. I mean, obviously, Matthew Nicholson and Keenan Fitzmaurice did an admirable job facing adversity and kind of going into those leadership roles as seniors or grad students. But at the same time, I think that kind of having a clear person who's going to be a key player at that position is really important. I wouldn't be surprised if they address it in the transfer portal as well, maybe getting some depth for Kate Bennerman. But I think the future is bright. It's a really great time to be a Cats fan, and I think next year, I think they have a legitimate chance of not only of getting postseason play, which I think not many teams kind of in this rebuilding stage can say.
Yeah, next season, postseason play is basically a lock for the Cats, whether that's NIT or the Crown Tournament. The Northwestern will be a much more competitive team, unless Northwestern goes through the same rocky roller coaster road that they ended up going through this year. But let's be honest, lightning doesn't strike twice. It's not going to happen. Lightning never strikes twice in the same spot. I think Northwestern is okay. But to speak to the Chris Collins thing, I don't think he's going to go to a Big Ten foe. Let's just rule that out. That's not happening. But the reason why I'm a little worried about Villanova is that this is not a bad Villanova team. This team had upset St. John's and Marquette throughout the regular season and made it pretty far in the Big East tournament, losing to UConn the other day. But if Chris Collins were to leave, like Pearson just said, this season would make the most sense to do it, especially because he has the ties to Brooks and Matt and Ty Berry. And yeah, he has a tie to Nick Martinelli, but I don't think Chris Collins will ever have that type of relationship with his players again because of how special those group of seniors were. And I didn't even mention like the other guys like Fitzmaurice and the other guys that are graduating. They play like a big role in that, even though you don't see it. But that whole senior class, Chris Collins has talked about how much that senior class had meant to him. So if Chris Collins were to close the book, I feel like it would be a perfect time to do it right now.
I also think, really quickly, I really wanted this team to play in the Crown Tournament. I think they would have been invited had they not said they did not want to play postseason play. I think, interestingly, the two other teams who rejected or said they wouldn't play postseason were Iowa and Indiana, and both probably teams that would have also gotten invites to some sort of postseason tournament, and obviously those are two programs with outgoing coaches, so maybe that's not a good sign in the sense that, like, kind of a correlation between that. But at the same time, I think that it's a different scenario, and I hope that next season they wouldn't be adverse to playing in that type of tournament if they don't make the NCAA tournament at large.
All right, well, a great recap, guys, of a season that has come to a close, and to switch off to a team that is just starting what could be a pretty fantastic run. Let's talk about women's lacrosse. A dominant 16-7 victory against Penn State. That's a conference team, not up there with some of the other teams that the Cats have played so far, namely Syracuse, Boston
Penn
College.
State beat them last year,
But
though, I believe, right?
Penn State is a solid program, and a really, as I said, dominant victory for the Cats. 6 goals for Maddie Taylor. Really an excellent showing. They've got one of their more difficult conference matchups coming up against Maryland this Saturday. I will be on the call here at Evanston, Illinois.
I'll have to tune in.
And so that'll be a fun.
I'll be in the state of Maryland, so I'll have to see.
So go Cats. Let's beat Sammy's home state. But I guess so far this season we've seen this team really kind of coalesce into a viable option. In the postseason, Boston College feels like they're kind of the empire that Northwestern once was at this point, given that the Cats have lost 2 generational talents in Izzy Skane and Aaron Kuykendall. But the Cats are quickly headed back to at least a similar status to where they were before. They're kind of separating themselves from the pack of other schools. They get a chance to face off against North Carolina, a kind of disputed number 2, and that'll be a huge game.
That'll be a fun one.
Coming up soon. But I guess going into this Maryland game, what do you guys think are some keys to the game? What do you want to see more of from the Cats as we head into a tough stretch coming up for this season?
Before we get into the Maryland game, could I just tell a fun little story from today?
Absolutely.
So I met Delaney Schweitzer's mom in the crowd, and if you've gone to the Northwestern lacrosse games before, she's always standing up at the near side goal. Well, if the scoreboard to the left, she's always at the door by the scoreboard. She's always the one that's like screaming at the players cheering on Northwestern. So like I met her and I talked to her, and I missed out on the jersey giveaway beforehand, but she had an extra shirt and she gave me the extra shirt. So look at this. Look at this.
There we go.
Northwestern just happened to be signing autographs today.
Oh.
So the team signed my
Hey,
shirt.
okay.
Wow.
There we go.
The
Look at
team
that.
ended up signing my shirt. So
Wow, that's a lot. You got everyone.
yeah, I got
Oh my
I
goodness, look at this.
I got every single player on the team because I happened to share an 8 a.m. entrepreneurship class with the freshmen. So
For those of you listening on the radio, Matt Campbell, sure enough, is holding a white T-shirt with every single Northwestern women's lacrosse player signed.
And it's a St. Patty's shirt.
Look at this.
That's awesome.
We'll get a better view of it here. Let's see.
We'll go to this angle. All right. Look, man, this is sick.
Wow.
Hey, look, this could be worth a lot someday. Wait, hold up. There we go. I don't know if we're getting a great angle, but
No, that's good. That's good.
there we go. Oh,
There
yeah.
we go.
Look at that. Here, I'll
very carefully hand this back to you.
don't want this to be touching the ground, You gotta keep it.
For
See,
anybody that will be attending lacrosse next Saturday, you'll definitely see me wearing this shirt.
Yeah, as you should.
Wow.
And then it's
That's
immediately going into a picture frame and going up on my wall because this is sick.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
and also, this is like, I don't know if we mentioned this on SportsVoice, but last quarter, I mean, this is like a tradition for you to get signed because Matt and I, our first call with first like thing with WNUR I was on a call and Matt was online, and the women's basketball team was doing autographs, and so we got our media passes signed by the women's basketball team. So now he's getting one every quarter. So I mean, I guess that means what? Baseball or softball maybe in the spring?
Baseball or softball's got to be next. I mean, I'm wearing the jersey. Baseball's got to be next. Like
At this point, you may as well just collect them all. Get every
Yeah.
Northwestern athlete. I mean, those are 2 pretty big teams, right? You're already a good portion of the way there.
oh my
Good
gosh.
stuff.
That's
Oh, you're
solid.
right.
All right. Well, that's tough to top. I mean, that's pretty cool. Pearson, your thoughts on today's game? Northwestern, it wasn't perfect, but they played pretty well.
No, for sure. And I think the biggest question on this team, especially after the loss to Boston College, was the defense looks the same. They look very strong as usual, but the offense, obviously, without Izzy Skane, I mean, it's a different team, right? And I think in this game against a Big Ten foe, kind of opening very strong, obviously maybe there are certain goals they gave up that were a little quick questionable. At the end of the day, the defense will be solid. So to see the offense put up 16 is huge. And I think that that's kind of a testament to this team. I mean, yes, Izzy Skane's not here, but it's still a contender. I mean, yes, they're down to the 3 seed. Like, obviously, like you said, they have a chance against North Carolina. In terms of keys of the game for Maryland, I'd say kind of it has to start with the offense almost. I mean, Maryland will score goals against this team, just like Penn State did. And obviously, Maryland's at least a more reputable program historically. And so, I mean, I think that the biggest thing will just be they have to start off strong offensively. I think some of the earlier games, they kind of start off slow, which is probably what was the nail in the coffin in that Boston College game. So I think that's the biggest thing, starting off fast on offense, then the strong defense will kind of keep them ahead.
Yeah, that Northwestern Maryland matchup always fun. Kelly Monty Hiller, going not going back to Maryland, they're coming here, but getting to face off against her alma mater, and for me, I always have an interest whenever Maryland plays Northwestern, being a proud Marylander. So
yeah, I mean, I was all quasi Maryland fan, so same.
yeah, right. Yeah, I know Pearson's got the Maryland connection, so yeah, it's always a fun matchup. Moving on out to softball, and this was a big weekend for the Cats. 'Cause before this weekend, they've been struggling around the 500 mark, and a team that had expectations to, in non-conference play, be way above the 500 mark. But finally, they have an undefeated weekend against Big Ten teams. They open up Big Ten play very strong. 2 wins against Penn State, 2 wins against Michigan State. They were playing in Oklahoma City at an event going on over there. And the big takeaway is offense. This team was slugging, finally. Emma Ray had a 5 RBI game against Penn State on Thursday, and then had another multi-hit game on Saturday against Penn State. And then against Michigan State, they just kept swinging the bats in some close games. Michigan State's a pretty solid team. So, guys, is Northwestern softball back? Because, like I said, they had been struggling.
No doubt. Northwestern softball's back. And I want to go back to a podcast that I did with Ethan Siegel, Rounding the Bases. And we were gauging how worried we were about this team. And this was after the Cardinal Classic. And everybody was pretty worried except for me. I was not concerned at all.
Matt Campbell's nothing if not an optimist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a chill guy. Okay, let me stop.
There we go.
But, no, I was just not concerned at all. And I was like, when this team faces Penn State, Northwestern softball will be back. Lo and behold, Northwestern is 4-0 in conference play. So call me Mystic Matt, because I told you that this would happen. And
we may have to call you Mystic Matt.
yeah,
In fact,
I
I think we're only gonna call you Mystic Matt.
Yep,
for
Matt
the
Campbell's
next
no longer
episode.
your name.
So let's breaking this down. Riley Gruselanik is far and away one of the best pitchers in the Big Ten, and I don't
She
think
stepped
that's
up.
crazy to say. She went 3-0 in 3 appearances for Northwestern, and I think that this is somebody that's going to be super dominant for the Cats throughout the season. And yeah, obviously you might need 12, 15, 18 innings a week from somebody else, but if Gruselanik could keep the opponent batting average under 200 for the majority of the season, I mean, like, what else can you ask for? Yeah, that's not realistic. It's not going to happen, okay? Maybe, but I'm expecting an opponent batting average of 230 against Gruselanik throughout the season, and I think Northwestern will be in a very good spot to earn a regional bid. And Kaylee Avasado is a contender for Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and I said that on the podcast too. And yeah, lo and behold, 8 hits, 4 stolen bases, 9 RBIs in 4 games, and her 10 stolen bases has surpassed any total of any Northwestern player from the 2024 season. If she keeps this up, she's Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and it's not even close.
I 100% agree. I don't even think that's that outrageous, honestly. I also think this Northwest team, just like lacrosse, I mean, they opened Big Ten play undefeated. I mean, that's really important, honestly. I mean, this team, obviously, once again, I mean, a different team than last year, looking a little different, maybe looking a little weaker in certain areas, and they showed up against Penn State and Michigan State, and that's nothing to do. I mean, this team is the reigning regular season champion in the Big Ten for 3 years in a row, looking to four-peat, which would be incredible. And I think that kind of this opening is a testament to that. I also think that It's going to be exciting. I mean, obviously they have a little bit of a break in Big Ten play when they play Mississippi State. But I mean, I think that'll also be a challenge. I mean, the SEC being kind of a bat sport kind of bastion. I mean, with softball and baseball being very strong in the SEC.
Yeah.
I think that those are huge games at home. Where if Northwestern take advantage, they can kind of take that momentum and kind of push to be not only like the favorite for the Big Ten regular season championship, but almost like a guarantee. And so I think that this will be an important series, but it's definitely really good to see how strong they've looked so far in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean,
It's exciting for Northwestern because, I mean, they very well could have gone into this weekend and lost 4 games the way they had been playing, especially offensively. And I mean, because that has been the issue. There's just been so much pressure on these pitchers who have yet to really find a rhythm. I mean, because the past few years, they had, I mean, way back, Danielle Williams, and they had pitchers who could, last year was Boyd, who could just get it done, and you didn't have to worry as much about getting runs. They don't have that this year, and there's been a lot of pressure on the pitchers like Grizzleanic, and it's been good that the offense really was able to break out this weekend in Oklahoma City. And staying with the Diamond Sports, let's talk about Northwestern baseball. They lost the series to to Penn State, 2-1 this weekend. But they did win the last game, and for Northwestern, any Big Ten win is a good sign. Just to recap, Game 1, really rough. They lost 11-2. Offense couldn't score runs. The pitching struggled. That's that. Game 2 was a lot better, and they came back at the end and were maybe a few feet on a Preston Knott fly ball in the bottom of the 9th from tying the game. Almost some heroics. And Game 3, the offense did come alive. And what I want to pivot and talk about is Trent Liolis. This guy had a weekend, particularly had a Saturday. The second game of the doubleheader, he had 3 home runs. But the first game he had 1, so make it 4 home runs on the day for Trent Liolis. His total line for Saturday, 2 games, 7 for 9, 4 homers, 6 RBIs. Have a day, Trent Liolis. I mean, just carrying the Cats to that win in the second game of the doubleheader. So a lot not to like from this weekend for Northwestern baseball. They struggled in some areas, but with Liolis and that win in the third game of the series, there were also some things to like. Where do we stand, guys?
I want to put that Liolis stat into perspective. Do you want to know when Liolis' first home run last year was?
Hit me.
March 19th. And he hit 9.
Yeah.
Liolis has 4 home runs, so that means during opening day weekend for the Big Ten tournament, Liolis has about half of his total from the first series alone, half of his total from last year already, and we have 2 months to go. If that doesn't tell you that Northwestern offense is going to be high-powered when Freeman starts to heat up, when Bianchina gets his opportunities and starts to heat up, when Council hits, when McElpatrick hits, I feel like this offense is going to get going pretty soon. But like I keep hammering home, the pitching staff is so inconsistent and so concerning. What is going on with Crawford Wade? Oh my goodness, I don't know.
Especially without Garrett Shearer.
I can't understand what's going on with Crawford Wade. He gave up 6 runs in the conference opener, and I can't. It's so concerning, and I can't put my finger on it. And you know, I'm at this point, I'm starting to get a little worried. He lost the game to the Citadel. He lost the game to Duke. I mean, well, granted, it's Duke University, but I believe his last win came against Harvard.
Yeah,
or was it one of the Fordham games?
I think Harvard sounds right. I know he had a gem. I mean, he can be really good.
He had a gem, but it was not against strong competition.
Sure.
It was one of the games in North Carolina, admittedly. And this team is like, we knew this team was going to start slow. We knew this team was going to probably lose the first series, but it's not really about winning the first series. It's about showing signs of life, which they had.
Yeah.
And as we can see in the third game, Sam Leboki can struggle, have a rough start, give up 5 earned runs, and Northwestern still finds a way to win.
Yeah.
So if that's not telling you that this team is solid, and on top of that, before I get off the pitching, Blake McMillan and Jack Grunkmeyer look super, super good.
Yeah.
So those are two arms that we did not expect. Well, McMillan we expected to do well, but Grunkmeyer in his first season at Northwestern we did not expect to do well. So this team has a lot more bright spots than last year. So I'm feeling confident about where Northwestern's going to be at towards the middle of the season.
Well, Matt, I agree with you there. I think, just Diamond Sports as a whole, I'm glad to see that softball is back, at least temporarily. That was just a team that was so strong last year and felt like it's been in precipitous decline for a while at this point. So, both of our Diamond Sports have an Achilles wrist here this year, which is pitching, and so we'll see how that works out for them. But it's time to move on to our games segment, Pick'em. Can't believe this is our last Pick'em as Sports Voice hosts. For any new listeners, Pick'em is a segment where Sammy and I ask 3 questions, expecting creative answers from our guests. There are no right answers, there are a few wrong answers, but we're hoping for plenty of fun answers from Matt and from Pearson today. And so at the end of the episode, we will award winners to each Pick'em question answerer. But our first question I'm calling the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. March Madness is just ahead, and with numerous bracket competitions coming up, we have to start thinking about punishments and rewards. So many of us have been in groups with amazing rewards if you win your bracket competition, hilarious punishments for the losers. But sometimes these are a little bit basic. I don't like money rewards or fines for losers or anything like that. I think we have to get creative as a station. And so given that WNUR is going to have its own bracket competitions for both the men's and women's tournaments, what do you think our rewards and punishments should be? Matt, we'll start with you.
Oof, okay. I think the obvious reward for whoever wins the bracket challenge in WNUR should be to having the privilege to call the first football game next season. I feel like that's very solid, and if you're a senior, too bad, boo-boo. But I feel like I feel like that's a pretty coveted game to have the first WNUR call of the year, and so we should give them the right to set the tone, especially because picking a bracket is so difficult nowadays. Upsets are more rampant than ever in March Madness, I feel like, so that should be the reward. The punishment, I feel like, should be, I came up with one just now off the top of my head. The punishment should be for the loser to bundle up in WNUR sports merch, in coats, in hoodies, and have to sit in the middle of the student section for that same football game. And it's like, and they should have to stay there the entire game. So if Northwestern gets blown out, they have to stand there in the heat, bundled up in the winter coat and sweaters and hoodies, sweating for 4 or 5 hours straight. And so I feel like that's a little bit embarrassing. It's a little brutal, but I mean, it adds a little bit extra motivation for you to not pick a ridiculous bracket.
I'm also kind of thinking about this one on the fly. I think for reward, I know that for like the fantasy football stuff, that there was kind of just like, you get to pick a game, and I think that's cool. But I think something that like a lot that maybe, I don't know how sought after this, and I might be wrong about these stats, but I think that like the road trips are something that people like would love to go on. So I think maybe either getting to pick a road trip, whether it's basketball or football, or getting like some sort of priority thing there. I think that'd be pretty cool. And for punishment, I think there should be something that, again, I think the punishments were failed for fantasy football since Logan didn't do his singing. But I think maybe something similar could be cool, and I think it also should have some repeatability, so maybe having something where then you go and play it over the air, possibly. And so I was thinking maybe having to, like, obviously, since, mostly Medill and mostly comms, so, like, no ChatGPT, no DeepSeek, I think that you should have to write, a spoken word poetry about your bracket and how bad it was. And
That's good.
And just have to talk about like just perform your poem, and it has to be. You can't just be like, I'm reading my poem on a piece of paper. I want it memorized. I want a performance. I want you to stand on that stage in Lewis and be proud of your loss, so much so that it gets recorded and also gets put on the air either during a broadcast or on one of the sports blog shows. So that would be my punishment.
That's amazing, Pearson. I'm actually going to modify that a little bit. I think that if you lose, the two losers, one should have to do the poem and read it out loud. The second worst bracket should have to do an accompanying interpretive dance.
Oh my
about-
god! I feel like the interpretive dance is the worst punishment.
I
I feel like that should be the last punishment. I mean, maybe not for some people. For me, that would be a very good
Or maybe
punishment
even
for me,
have
because that would
interpretive dance. Okay.
I would be very scared of picking
Maybe
that
have the
one.
winner write it,
We're
too.
gonna text Adam and Ethan about these ASAP so that we can try to.
Or maybe we shouldn't. I don't know.
I think my bracket. I have confidence. I have confidence in my bracket.
I had
so.
confidence last year, and that didn't end well. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I
true.
know we picked these at the end, but I'm just gonna do it now. I'm gonna forfeit this one to Pearson because these are so elite.
Okay.
So I'm just
I
gonna
appreciate it. I'll
I'm just
take
gonna
it.
forfeit from now.
I'll take it.
These
There
are
we go.
sick ideas.
Well, with that, we'll move to our next pick'em, and this is a fun one. Claire came up with it, DIY pick'em, and I think this is kind of a nice way to kind of, start sending our reign of pick'em to the next generation of Sports Voice. So, because we have a little extra time, we're gonna have both of you guys come up with a pick'em question, and maybe you have one, maybe you don't. Come up with on the fly or whatever. But come up with something that would be fun, that you think would be something cool to come up to talk about, and we'll all go around the horn and give our answers. And this'll, we have no idea. This is totally, we don't know what's coming, so this could be interesting. Anyone?
Okay. I think I got one.
All right.
Pick a league, your favorite league, any league, and propose one rule change / modification / addition that you think would make the game more fun.
Now,
For
Claire, are
example-
we participating in this? I don't know. We can't.
Interesting. We'll start with Pearson, and then
Yes.
the two of us can also participate.
There we go.
Okay. Rule change modification. I mean, I guess. Okay, I guess I'll go with the NBA, and I don't know if this counts because it's like an all-star rule, but I think that the all-star game format was a failure this year. I think that the 14, like this whole thing where it's like, oh, you pick the teams and it's gonna make people play harder instead of made them play less hard. And the whole like Rising Stars. I mean, Rising Stars are great, but I don't know why they're playing in the All-Star game. So I think what could be really cool is either one, adding like an extra All-Star spot for both the West and the East, or I think would be even more cool is have the media or like fans out. You can do this however you want. Pick like a team, like this all snub team. So all the guys who are just at the cusp of the All-Star game, and then if the all snub team beats the All-Stars, then the All-Stars lose their All-Star, like, and then instead the snubs
that's
get their
fun.
All-Star thing. This is not an original idea. This is something I've seen, but I think that would be really cool and a way to like rejuvenate the NBA All-Star game, which is otherwise pretty monotonous.
All right.
That's a good answer, Pearson. I think my answer to this question is NFL overtime. I think the coin flip overtime is dumb. It's unfair.
Yeah.
I think it should be the same as college football. I think each team should have a shot to score in overtime.
Yeah, the college football overtime is like, ever since they implemented it, it feels, it's weird, but like it works.
I like it.
I like it, but it is like starting at the 25 is always been weird to me. But
Yeah.
I think it is fun. Like, I mean, especially when they had some of those games, like when it was like they'd keep scoring in overtime and it'd just be like 60 to 70 or whatever. Okay, I'm sure I have some other ones that I could think of, but I think the easy one for me is let's stop putting runners at second base in extra innings. I'm not a fan. I think I don't really think it provides any benefits. I think it just makes it weird. I think it was never something that we were complaining about. We were never like, oh man, I really wish there was a runner on second base. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I was never thinking about that. So I would enjoy it if they took that away and let extra innings be normal. That's my take. So Pearson, do you have anything? Do you have a pick 'em for us?
This is also what I just thought about. So, imagine, Northwestern randomly gets a bunch of, they get a giant endowment to add a new sport to their varsity catalog. So not only do they get this new sport, I want to know what sport that they're adding. I don't know, it could be like ice hockey or ribbon gymnastics. I don't know. But I also want to know, Jack Lausch has inspired a lot of people playing 2 sports. So you need to pick a current Northwestern athlete who would join that new team and be the face of that team. So,
Okay, wow.
this
is interesting.
I'm going first. I have,
This is
I have a
quick.
strong opinion about this one.
You just off the dome. That's
Absolutely.
crazy. Very
Wait,
quick.
I'm
Wow.
Pearson. I love this pick 'em question. This is awesome. I think the answer you already listed is hockey. I think it would be awesome to have a hockey team
Okay.
as a Big Ten school, cold climate.
Friend of the show, Dylan Friedland, would certainly agree.
Yes, absolutely. We should have a hockey team, and I think the clear answer who should join it is Luke Hunger because he used to play hockey.
I forget.
He's
massive.
he rides the bench most of the time for Northwestern basketball, and so I think we can kind of put him to more productive use if we had a hockey team. So that's my answer.
Matt, do you have anything? I'm still brainstorming.
I'm still brainstorming.
Oh man, okay.
Too.
Um,
Oh man.
this is a very good question. Like what don't we have here that we should have? I don't know. You know what? Maybe like Ultimate Frisbee or something. I don't know. I think Ultimate Frisbee.
Is there D1 Ultimate Frisbee?
No.
We have a club team then.
Well,
We're maxed out.
Oh, well, we can. You know what? Let's make it a D1 sport. That's what we're gonna do. And who's gonna play Ultimate Frisbee? I think AJ Henning would be a very good Ultimate Frisbee.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wide receivers, right? I mean, he's quick. He's nimble. He can catch the frisbee. I'm sure he's got good hands, right? And yeah, I think. I mean, he's I guess technically not a Northwestern athlete anymore. But AJ Henning, I think, would be a great Ultimate Frisbee player when Northwestern uses their endowment to add D1, to become the first D1 Ultimate Frisbee team.
Yeah, Northwestern University is set for a massive funding increase this year.
Yes.
We've got lots to spend for sure, and we're gonna figure out how to spend it. But
All right, Matt. What's
your
your
turn.
Down the same vein, I'm gonna go gymnastics. I feel
That's
like
actually that's a
great
very good
answer?
one.
Yeah.
Female gymnastics is like a big SEC sport. Let's bring it to the Big Ten. So let's do gymnastics, and face of the team. I feel like you could make a lot of freshmen on the women's lacrosse team the face of the gymnastics team. But I feel like I'm gonna go with Brakeen Mahoney because I feel like she's one of the most athletic, flexible players on the team, and we low-key haven't seen much of it. But I share class with her. I think you probably share class with her. She's a comm studies major, so dude, let's just throw a bunch of lacrosse freshmen, not just her. Let's throw Claire on the team. Let's throw Aditi on the team. Let's throw Maddie Taylor could be on the team. So let's see what happens. I feel like there are a lot of flexible players on the lacrosse team, and I feel like if you throw our lacrosse team in the SEC, we give LSU a run for their money. All right, let me not say that, but I feel like we compete with the better teams like Alabama.
I love the idea of Maddie Taylor on the gymnastics team because everyone I know is scared to death that she's going to get injured this year because of how much, just kind of one-on-one you've got with her. She scores from the free position a lot, but takes a lot of contact too because of it. And so, everyone's terrified of a Maddie Taylor injury. It's like an unspoken thing. You're not even, talking about it the way I am is brings bad juju into women's lacrosse. So the idea of saying, yeah, let's put her on the uneven bars.
There we go.
Absolutely
That will surely
absurd
prevent
to me.
injury.
It's totally. But hey, there are other big teams, UCLA namely, fantastic women's lacrosse program. So not unthinkable that we'd have one.
Yeah, no, those are some fun pick'ems, guys. Those were good to answer. It's kind of fun to participate in one.
Do we get to pick the winner
for
of
once?
these after?
Yeah. So I guess this is super meta because do we have to? at the end, we'll decide the best pick'em based on which one we think elicited the best responses from the remainder of the three of us. But if you two, like as sort of maybe training wheels, want to pick a winner of the pick'ems within the larger pick'em, you can absolutely do that.
This is very meta.
It's super meta.
We do have one more pick'em though.
We do have one more pick'em. So our final pick'em, Hasta la Vista. Super bittersweet moment for me as we cap off an amazing year of Sports Voice. The episode is not over yet. We still got half an episode left, but this is our final pick'em question, and so we're saying goodbye to spending our Sunday nights here in the on-air control room in Lewis Hall, and we're incredibly excited for a fresh set of hosts next quarter. But for now, we kind of want to just reminisce on the great times that we've had here since last spring. So for each of you, you've been guests quite frequently. What is your favorite Sports Voice memory and why?
Am I going first?
I mean, I guess you have the mic.
Okay, so I did a day in my life a couple of weeks ago. You've seen it, but I did a day in my life. I posted it to Instagram, and I ended the night off with Sports Voice, and Jonah was there, and Ethan was there, and it was just such a vibe, like to end the night, because I did commentary and I hit the gym, and I was completely exhausted. And I ended the night talking about Sports Voice while watching the Commanders. This was like mid
NFC
playoffs.
Championship?
I think
maybe?
so. No, this was the divisional round against the Bucks.
Okay.
So it was such a cool night to kind of end it off with Sports Voice and like throw that into the day in the life and just talk Northwestern and like. I'm on Sports Voice. Like, what else can you what you can't ask for much else on a Sunday night. Like, this is an awesome show to like end the night, go to sleep immediately after, and then wake up and then watch the episode back.
You must be going to sleep earlier than me.
Early, yeah.
Yeah. At least for me, I still got a few more hours after this ends at 9 o'clock.
Well,
Unfortunately.
okay, I was tired that day.
No,
dude. Like,
good for you. I'm trying to not do that, but alas.
You were sort of taking us through like, the classic Sunday evening, you're in the OACR, blah, 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 and it really resonated with me until you said, and then I go to bed at 9.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, I still got a long way to go. All right. No, that's a good one. I remember that episode. Pearson, how about you?
For me, I guess it's kind of just like a bittersweet section. I'll go with the bittersweet kind of this. So, like one of my first Sports Voice episodes, I remember it was with Jonah and Calvin, and it was directly after the Bears lost to the Commanders on a Hail Mary. And I remember Jonah and I were in my room, and we were watching the game.
All three of us came with our stupid Bears jerseys.
We didn't have time
like
to
idiots.
change. We didn't have time to change. And I was so sad. I was like, man. Like, but I remember I was like, wow, I'm gonna get to go to Sports Voice and tell Calvin how bad the Commanders are and how Caleb is better than Jane Daniels. And then, as I'm thinking and formulating this plan, that happens, and it was so sad. But Sports Voice did give me a place to vent, and it did make my day a little bit better. And so, I'd say that was probably the most memorable, or I guess. I would say favorite if that wasn't the moment that preceded it, but I think it's appropriate regardless because I think it was a good way to forget.
I vividly remember that. I went. Just the timing of it. It was a 4 o'clock game, or 3 o'clock, I guess, on Central Time. I'm still in the East, whatever. It was an afternoon game, and it literally ended right before I had to leave for Sports Voice. So I was like in the lounge of Allison Hall, which is where my shout out Allison Hall, and I was in the lounge, literally in shambles. Like I think I was literally like in the floor, like just like what just happened.
Dude, I didn't think it happened.
Like,
I was trying to rewind it and see if I missed it.
In disbelief, because this was a game that was really, really hyped up for the Bears. This was a huge game. The Bears were playing well up to that point. And little did we know the cascade that would occur in the following weeks/months where they wouldn't win a game for those weeks/months.
I vividly remember
we all had our Bears jerseys.
Sammy and I produced, today is an early episode because the two shows before us aren't recording. But we produce Her Take, and I think at that point it was it wasn't Bracket Battle.
It was Leo.
It was Leo Tesso's Banter and Bout Ball that was before us. We produced those, and then we do Sports Voice. And so I went to grab some water, go to the bathroom between shows, and I come back, and the three of you are sitting there in a row, basically like still on the verge of tears, like in your bear. You looked like you were coming back from a Bears-themed funeral. Like, it was so.
It was a
Why
Bears
is
game.
the smirk that Calvin had on his face?
Yeah,
was so
Kyle.
bad.
Well, the fact that he was there
And then
with
Calvin
us
with
on that
you,
episode.
the
He
whole
was
time.
ready to have a field day. I can
And I
imagine.
think he held it in. He was
No,
respectful.
because Calvin's just he's like
He's a nice guy.
yeah, he's not the type of guy to rub
Although
it in
after-
like
I
that.
will say-
I respect it.
Yeah. Afterwards, though, he was like, "Who's Tyreek Stevenson?" I can't blame him because I agree. Who is Tyreek Stevenson, man?
Oh my God! Well,
Yeah,
don't make me relive any more of that game. Do make me relive that Sports Voice because the Sports Voice was fun. All right, we'll talk about some pick'em winners at the end. But let's get back to the sports. We'll stick in college. Today's maybe the biggest day in college sports in the year because it's Selection Sunday. How about it? Kind of cool that we get to end our tenure on Selection Sunday. The tournament bracket is here, and yeah, I mean, well, takeaways, guys. I mean, I haven't had the chance to really delve into it deeply yet. It's been a busy day for me. So familiarize me. Well, what are some teams that got higher seeds than you thought? Who are some snubs? And what are we thinking?
First of all, the SEC with 14 teams
Yeah,
is
man.
ridiculous. I mean, good for them, but like, wow. I mean, you know, the SEC is a traditionally really strong football conference, obviously, and it's not that they weren't strong in basketball, but this is like unprecedented. Obviously, they have the Big 12 teams that joined the Texases of the world, but I mean, man, I hope the Big 10 can be that someday. I mean, I think if 14 teams from the Big 10 made the NCAA tournament, that would include Northwestern, hopefully. But I mean, yeah, I think that is just the most insane thing to come out of this. I mean, yeah, we can talk about snubs and anything, but I mean, I think that's the most ever, right?
Yes, because the before that it was 11.
Yeah, three
yeah.
more.
3 more, yeah.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
and I'm interested to see how that plays out, guys. Because like,
I mean, they have the highest chance, so if they don't win, like,
right, like, I feel like last year, I feel like the SEC was not quite like it was this year, but like it was pretty highly touted. I picked them a lot in my bracket, and the SEC notoriously did not do well in March last year. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. This is a test of the theory: is the SEC actually that much better than everyone else?
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that they're going to underwhelm.
Florida looked really good though today.
No, I
against
mean,
Tennessee.
I think the top teams will do their thing. I mean, Florida's going to be good. Auburn has been shaky lately, but like it's Auburn. They've been great all year. Tennessee, right? But I think some of the teams that like are like the 10 to 14 teams in the SEC, like you know maybe your Vanderbilts, and some of the other teams that made it, looking like your Oklahomas who, whatever, your Arkansas, right? Like those teams might disappoint. We'll see.
I agree. I think that even Florida, right? I mean, yes, they have to face reigning champions UConn. Theoretically, they could run into a really good Maryland team, really good Memphis team. I mean, even the top teams are almost at risk of upsets too. And so I think that it will be interesting to see because I almost think that it'd be even more of an embarrassment if they didn't do well. I mean, you would have to think with this big odds that they'd have to get one team in the Final Four, but I mean, or at least the Elite Eight. But I guess that could not happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say in the West, you know, looking at Florida's the 1 seed here. You've got Oklahoma, you've got Memphis, you've got Missouri on this side of the bracket. St. John's has a pretty rosy picture ahead of them in the West. I think that could get really interesting. But you know, I think you're right about
St. John's in the West.
Yeah, I think
That's
yeah.
That's a pretty funny situation. So maybe fitting, you know, looking on the other side of things that Auburn is in the South. But things can get. I could see, you know, Michigan maybe moving along a little bit of an upset game there. I would, you know, maybe think about that as a possibility. So, you know, a lot of interesting things to see, you know, moving forward.
There's a lot to take in with this. Any guys, any matchups we're looking at here in the first round that catch your eye for any reason? You know, I know a lot of the 8-9 games are always fun. I mean, I'm looking. What are you guys seeing? Any fun games?
Screw the first round. We live in a world where North Carolina's in the first four. What is going on? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm like,
that's true. I
That
mean,
really
like that
too
is
weird.
it is like a weird. Kind
what
of
is
dichotomy.
going on? Why is how? I mean, yes, they had terrible losses, but it's still insane to think about. Like, this is a team that won the went to the national championship 2-3 years ago. No, like as an 8 seed, and now they're in the first 4. Like, if this team loses to San Diego State, I will be utterly just shocked and surprised.
Pearson, any matchups you're looking at in particular?
I think one that our friend at the station, Elliot, kept bringing up.
High Point.
Oh
High
my
Point
God.
Purdue. I
That
think
could be an upset.
that could
Yeah.
definitely be an upset. I mean, the whole thing, High Point with the national championship backup point guard, no, I think that's one definitely to keep an eye on. I would also say not only Purdue, but I think a lot of the Big Ten teams actually are at risk. I think Utah State over UCLA could be a very big possibility. I even think Liberty and Oregon could too. I mean,
Yeah.
Michigan could get upset by UC San Diego. I mean, they're so. I mean, I would almost say that the Big Ten might even be the most susceptible to an upset. Maybe partially because of how the seeding worked out for them. But I mean, at the same time, it's like they're definitely going to have to get their bootstraps and make sure that, you know, like the Marylands of the world don't play defense like they did against Michigan. The Michigan States of the world make sure they actually draw a foul. Yeah, I think for sure those could be the ones to look at.
Yeah, I think another sort of maybe Cinderella watch thing here, and I'm going to mention this just so that Sammy and I can bring up Drake 3 episodes in a row at this point. Drake, Missouri, I think it could be really interesting. We've been talking about, you know, the SEC, how solid of a conference is it this year? They've got the quantity, do they have the quality? And this could be kind of an interesting test moment.
Yeah.
Drake is a favorite Cinderella team for a lot high-quality myself included, and so I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I mean, Mizzou, they've been inconsistent at times, but I mean, they've had some really high quality wins this year, as high as you could go in that conference. The game I'm looking at is in the first 4, and it's between 2 16 seeds, and it's Mount St. Mary's American. As a Marylander, as a DMVer, this is a dream matchup. Mount St. Mary's is about 40-50 minutes north of me, and American is about 40-50 minutes south of me. This is great for the homeland. 2 teams I've kind of been keeping an eye on all year, and you know, Mount St. Mary's, they won their conference yesterday. Shout out Henry Freeman because he was rooting for Iona in that game. Mount St. Mary's won, you know, beat it. But yeah, I will be watching that game. DMV represent. Love to see it.
The hill turns are alive with the sound of music. At that
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
So that's an awesome matchup. I really could not be more excited for March Madness this year. I guess, you know, our sort of one other question we have is a always way too early Final Four prediction from the 2 of you.
Well, you're gonna have to be doing it in your brackets, so you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's hear it now first. Let's get the top secret info.
Final 4. Let's go Auburn, St. John's, Houston, Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. That's fun.
Wow.
That's fun.
I feel like
It was
Vanderbilt's
really
got a
boring
shot.
until Vanderbilt. So
No,
I'm happy
I feel like
you guys did.
that's a good way to go. Like, go boring except for one team. I think that's always kind of my philosophy with the Final Four. Like, one team's got to be a little spicy.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is tough because like, I literally have not had a chance to look at this bracket that.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. No. I'll go St. John's as well. I'll go Houston as well. But then I'll actually go with Ole Miss
Ooh.
and St. Mary's. So a 6 and a 7.
That's very spicy.
St. Mary's.
Pearson
I want
is
two
drinking the
Saints.
hot sauce
Two
here.
Saints in the Final Four, maybe?
Yeah.
And
that-
only one seed?
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting
This
stuff.
is
from
that's a
Pearson.
ghost pepper bracket right there if I've ever seen one. So
Claire, dare we
Ole Miss and St.
dare we
Mary's.
give it a shot? I don't know.
Do it,
Wow.
do it.
wow.
See, I also haven't barely looked at this.
I think
so
I
this is
can
bad.
start in agreement about St. John's. I think they have, you know, watch this be very wrong maybe because it's March, but I think they might have the easiest path to the quarterfinals
Not only
or
that,
to
but I
the
mean,
semifinals.
it looked so good yesterday in the tournament.
Yeah, no, I almost think they're a shoo-in for it. Man, I love Duke. I'm so boring. Like picking Duke and Houston.
None of us picked Duke.
No,
None of you guys did.
we did not.
Yeah, okay.
We
Wow.
are Duke
Yeah, that's
haters, I
surprising.
guess. Or
Wow.
at least Duke Elite Eights.
Duke will beat the Elite Eight, but I think Duke will get upset.
I don't know. I guess maybe I have too much faith in Duke. Michigan. I don't
Forgot
know.
about Michigan.
I don't think I have as much faith in Auburn as the rest of y'all do.
What?
I mean, I said they would lose.
Oh, you did. That's right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
miss. Yeah.
I don't have as much faith in Auburn as a lot of people.
I agree.
The only
Um,
reason why I said Auburn is going, I think Auburn goes to the Final Four is because Alabama's not in the South.
I think Auburn could lose to Creighton.
You think so?
I think I got in the second round.
Yeah.
I think Auburn is. I mean, every one seed this season, like overall one seed, national one seed, it has looked surprisingly weak, and Creighton was one of the teams to knock them off. So
If this was 3 weeks ago, we would not be having this conversation
Yeah.
about Auburn.
No,
And
no,
no
and
way.
actually,
No,
in
no,
fact,
no shot.
3 weeks ago, we might have even just said 1-1-1-1.
Yeah,
Right.
3 to 4 weeks ago, we were like incredibly bullish on Auburn to win the whole thing.
They've just been
Like-
so good. They've all of their bad losses. I mean,
Have
not bad losses.
yeah.
Like all of their adversity has pretty much come in the past few weeks, and that is not a position you want to be in going into March. Oof.
Yeah, no, it's not. And also, I mean, when you look at a team like Oregon, for example, which like obviously didn't have the best showing in the Big Ten tournament, but like that's a team that's been hot. Wisconsin, that's a team that's been hot, and so I think those
Yeah.
tend to be my kind of bracket favorites of like, you know what, March Madness, like day by day you've got to win games. There is no game 7. Every game is a game 7, and so you know the teams that are going to excel in that. I think Auburn, we thought at the beginning, was just like too dominant to fail, but I don't know how I feel about them, and so I think, you know, teams like Michigan that are on that side of the bracket, I think have a decent shot. I'm gonna have to take a look at the South a little more closely
right,
before
man.
I make my bracket. This is tough.
I know this is a hot take, but this might also feed into my hate for Wisconsin. But I don't think Wisconsin makes it out of Denver. I think Wisconsin gets beat by BYU in round 2. Is that
I think
crazy?
Wisconsin's playing really good basketball right now.
They are
They've
playing
been
really
so
good
good.
basketball,
Yeah.
but so is BYU, and I think BYU might have. I think
That Wisconsin
That's
BYU matchup is a very
I'm
intriguing
rooting for
one.
that game to happen. Yeah.
Hey,
That's
don't sleep on the
interesting.
Rams. VCU,
All I'm
alright.
saying- okay,
Richmond,
John-
Virginia, man.
in the Northwestern game, John Tonje had a super bad first half. If there's a team that can completely take John Tonje out of the equation, it's BYU. And if you take John Tonje out of the equation, Wisconsin doesn't have a way to win.
I mean, I also think, honestly, it might not even be BYU. I agree with you, Sammy. I think VCU is a sleeper team
No,
as well.
A10, man.
Yeah.
A10 always produces
Because
good sleeper teams.
they destroyed Loyola, and Loyola is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, and one of the best the best 3-point shooting team in the A10. But VCU just steamrolled that tournament. They completely did, and I would not be shocked at all either if that is one. And honestly, I think they could get a double upset there. Of course, then they would have to hit my St. Mary's pick, but you know, we'll see what happens.
I just
Alright.
realized this, but Gonzaga's 8? What?
Yeah,
They
they're
had a
not
rough
that good.
year.
They're not the strongest here.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, a lot of the regular blue bloods are not doing as well.
What am I looking at? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
I
new
think
teams.
UNC might be the best example of that.
For sure. Also, UC San Diego, for it being the fact that it's their first tournament appearance is super surprising to me. Because I feel like I've seen, like, in the past years, like, UC Santa Barbara, obviously UCLA's there all the time, but yeah, UCSD, congrats to them, but that is, for a school like that, that's just surprising to me. I mean, maybe I'm just uneducated on the Big West, but...
I can see Gonzaga actually making a bit of a surprise run.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think Mark Few, so experienced in March.
Gonzaga has caused me so much pain in March.
Gonzaga has
It's
notoriously been disappointing in March. But maybe this is the year, maybe?
no, I don't mean that. I mean like Gonzaga, UCLA,
Oh,
pandemic,
yeah,
rough.
well, yeah.
Gonzaga, Northwestern, like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
that's true.
Gonzaga year after year makes me cry in March Madness, and so
But I
I'm
don't know,
hoping,
man.
I'm hoping the Dogs can pull one out and beat them there.
I love Houston, but I think, which is who they play in the second round. But, man, I think with the pressure off, they're hot. They just won the West Coast Conference. They beat some good teams to do that. It's a conference that produces some very good basketball teams every single season. Who knows? I'm going to give my quick Final Four off the dome. This will probably not be what goes in my bracket. South region. Oh boy, this is not easy. Give me Iowa State.
That's it.
They
we
were a
haven't
team-
talked about them yet.
We haven't talked about Iowa State much. They were really good to start the year. And the Big 12 is slept on. I think they're not as good as SEC this year, but they're not too far behind. I'll go Iowa State. West. Give me Maryland.
Yes. Yes.
What?
Give me Maryland. They are a slept-on team. One of the better defenses in college basketball.
Well, besides that last play.
What?
Besides the play.
Besides the play in the Michigan game. But generally speaking, metrics-wise, they're one of those teams that fit the offensive and the Ken Pom crazy stuff.
They have no depth.
Because those lists that's there's certain statistics and there's it narrows it down to 11 teams that can win it. Maryland has been on those lists all year long.
That was my bracket battle pick to win it all.
And
actually.
they're battle tested. Maryland has played in all of their losses have been close games, heartbreakers. And yes, a lot of them. A lot of those close games ended up in losses, but they have had more late game experience in a tough conference in the Big Ten than most teams. And I think they're also in a region that's very up for grabs. It's the one with St. John's that you guys were talking about. The one seed is Florida, who is, no disrespect to Florida. They had a great run, and they've been an incredible team. But they're probably the weakest one seed. If we go on the entire season.
I guess the entire season.
On the entire season.
Florida and St. John's are probably the two best conference champions coming into this tournament in terms of how their conference championships go. It'll be tough for Maryland. That's honestly why I didn't pick them, but I think that's not an outrageous pick at all.
And then
it's not outrageous. I will say, if defense is what you're looking for, St. John's, you're
St.
gonna have
John's
a hard
is good.
time beating
No,
St.
St. John's is also one of the best second half teams in the country.
Yeah.
So even if Maryland was for example, up, which they have been a
my
lot.
problem with St. John's is the Big East. I just don't believe in the Big East.
Really?
I don't. I think it's
After Nova's double championship, and
not generally. Generally speaking, I like the Big
this
East.
year. You just
This
mean-
year, I think the
this
Big
year.
East is weak, and I think St. John's is
Even after
good,
Creighton's
but I
upset?
don't
Even
think
after-
they're as good as maybe they've been made out to be the past month. Because I think the Big East is a bit weak, and I think they're going to do well in March. I don't think they'll make the Final Four.
St. John's.
Well, that's what he just said. He said Maryland.
Oh, Maryland.
I don't think St. John's is making the Final Four.
What? No.
That's a gutsy pick. I wish I made that pick.
Maryland's a gutsy pick because I think Maryland is the top seed that's most susceptible to an upset.
I will be rooting for them though. I will have my Maryland sweatshirt
absolutely.
on.
I mean, this is also very biased. I'm really rooting for
I
Maryland.
like that.
I think
Good
Maryland.
vibes.
I think Maryland gets upset by GCU.
No,
I'm so serious.
No.
GCU
Uh-uh.
GCU has done it
Not
before.
gonna
I think
happen.
GCU could do it again.
GCU will not do it again.
My East pick. I would say Duke in a heartbeat, but with the Cooper Flag situation, it's just a bit tough.
Cooper Flag's
Give me
gonna be
Bama.
back.
But
Tough pick.
it just still being injured.
Cooper Flag is still Cooper Flag.
I'm still. It would have been a heartbeat pick. I'll go Alabama and Midwest. Give me Houston. I love Houston, man. I like Tennessee
Who
too.
doesn't
but
love Houston?
you gotta pick Houston, man. I love it. Well, we talked a lot of fun college basketball, and I'm sure we could keep doing this for hours on end. But it's a big week in sports because it's also opening day week, guys. This actually might be one of the better weeks in sports
I'm so excited.
of the year.
It's incredible.
For three of us, sorry Matt, our favorite team playing in Japan, opening up the season.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, am I excited. Pearson and I will be waking up, and anyone is welcome to join. Pearson and I will be waking up at 4:30 a.m. to watch the Chicago Cubs.
I was
together.
considering sleeping in Maine to just wait out because I live in Elder. I don't know if I would make the trek, so I might book a room for us and just
sleep there.
sleep there.
Yeah, you do
when
you,
is
man.
it?
I will.
It's at 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning.
On Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
You go up. I mean, I know you're a Cubs hater, but
I'm not a Cubs hater.
Hey,
I
you
just
were-
hate your takes on the Cubs.
the Cubs are winning it. Oh.
Okay.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. But yeah, the Chicago Cubs and the Dodgers are in Japan, and I love this. Before we talk about baseball, I want to talk about this concept of having these games in Japan before the season starts. I love it. This is great for the game. It's really cool. The Cubs and Dodgers both played in some exhibition games against some of the Nippon League teams, and it's great. It's great
Shout
stuff.
out the Hanshin Tigers. They
Hanshin
beat
Tigers beat
3-0
both the Cubs and the
against-
Dodgers. They did not allow a run. I think the NPL is really good.
I was talking to
Kirsten
Sam
and I were
about it.
texting
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this. Yeah, I think the NPL is better than people give it credit for being.
Yeah, I mean, this is something Sammy and I have talked about for a while, which is that baseball is awesome and that it's a truly global sport.
Yeah.
It isn't to the extent that soccer or in most of the world football is.
It doesn't have the history, but
But I like that we're
going up.
we're trending in that direction. There's an awesome stat in the LA Times recently that 30% of Japanese tourists who come to Los Angeles visit Dodger Stadium. That is a staggering amount.
Yeah.
And so
I wonder what the stat would be for Wrigley.
for
That,
Wrigley-
yeah,
Because
that's a good
it has
question.
to be probably, if not, it's probably not there, but it's probably at least
Probably close.
second.
It's probably close. I actually could imagine it being higher, given that Japanese tourism to LA is like way more prominent than it is going into Chicago.
Yeah, and I mean Wrigley's
So-
such a
and
landmark.
Wrigley-
Not to say Dodger Stadium isn't.
Oh no, I was saying Dodger Stadium would be higher. I'm saying that
Yeah.
Wrigley. I'm just curious what it'd be for that. Maybe
No, me
Fenway,
too.
maybe the Oracles
Yeah.
of the world.
But
No,
it's
that's
just,
interesting. But I mean, a lot of especially for these American fan bases, Ohtani, Yamamoto. Like, if you're a Dodgers fan, this is so exciting for you, just like as a concept. And so I'm psyched. I unfortunately will just be completely in the heart of my final season. So I will not be waking up at 4:30 a.m. to watch any of these
I'll
games.
be-
But I would be if
Yes,
it weren't for my.
I'll be turning in my last assignment on Monday. It's due on Wednesday, but I'm doing it front end because I want to watch my Cubs with no worries in mind, except for
Except for
the
them
Cubs.
losing
Except for
to the
the-
Dodgers.
except for Kyle Tucker, maybe.
except for the Cubs.
Sammy
And
will actually be way more worried than he is during any of his finals. Because
well, I think this is a great segue to get into some of the baseball talk. Before we talk about MLB, let's just preview this series. I figure we have the personnel here to be able to talk about Cubs and Dodgers. This is a Chicago area radio show, 89.3, right? So let's talk about the Cubs and Dodgers. They'll be playing 2 games. First one will be really fun. You got Shota going for the Cubs, Yamamoto for the Dodgers, and I believe they're going Roki Sasaki in game 2. I think it's going to be a split. I think it has to be a split. That's my prediction. What are we feeling? What's the vibe?
I mean, my super bias pick is 2-0 Cubs.
Of course.
I think the biggest question, honestly, is the second game is the one I'm more worried because I think Roki has looked really good in spring training. I honestly think for Yamamoto is obviously last year he had a really disappointing debut and then bounced back for the rest of the season, of course besides his injury. But I think that honestly the bigger thing is, Yamamoto's had experience on opening day for the Dodgers before, and internationally, and so I think if he can get over that hump, I think that would be the one where he could shut the Cubs down completely. I think that both teams are kind of an interesting place because both should be, obviously the Dodgers are the biggest contender, but the Cubs theoretically should be contending as well, at least for a playoff spot. I don't know. I'm excited. I honestly think a split is the most likely, but I'm obviously really hoping for it too. But that goes without saying. That's
Matt, I know you're the lone not a fan of either of these
You
teams
gonna go
here,
two
but
Dodgers, Matt?
give us some input as an unbiased person in this room. What are you thinking?
As an unbiased person in this room, I think I'm. Ooh. Do I want to make Claire mad? Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go 2-0
I like
Cubs.
the sound of
Yeah!
this. Yeah! That's
think-
unbiased. I like
Seriously.
it.
He's
That's unbiased. That's
Here's the thing.
He's unbiased by any emotion towards the teams or any information about how good they are.
Here's the thing.
I don't know, Matt. I'm not mad. I think I'm disappointed because obviously I'm tempted to say 2-0 Dodgers. This is just to me undoubtedly the best team in baseball, and so it'll be exciting to see them in Japan. But I do think, Sammy, you have a point. 1-1 sort of almost feels like a safe pick.
I feel like it would just because both these teams have
Yeah.
a few Japanese superstars. And
Exactly.
I think it'll probably be a mostly Dodgers crowd there, but I think there's certainly Shota fans and Seiya Suzuki fans
Absolutely.
out there.
Miguel Amaya will go deep in one
Yeah,
of these games.
that's
my
the idea.
prediction.
That's
my
your bold prediction.
That's
Miguel,
my prediction. is
Panama's
Miguel
finest.
Amaya.
Miguel Amaya.
Yeah.
Wow. Miguel Amaya could really
I
be
love
good
that guy.
this year. Yeah, No leg kick, Miguel Amaya.
That guy's the
is goat.
coolest guy from Panama in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Coolest guy from Panama in the world.
Yes. You heard it here first.
I think opening day is a slugfest. I'm gonna go. I think both teams. Hot take. I think both teams end up in the double digits.
Ooh, I like that.
I think
I like
it's
that.
gonna be a slugfest.
You know that I remember.
I feel like I have more faith in Yamamoto than that.
Yeah, I mean, I should have more faith in Seiya, but I will say I remember this was, I mean, a few years ago in London when they played some of those games over there. I think the Yankees played the Red Sox, and then the Cubs played the Cardinals. That may have been last year. My track of time is bad.
Okay, but
Regardless-
you can't really. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you can't really use that London series. That ballpark was an absolute joke, and that
It
sounds
was.
so That sounds so hypocritical because I'm a Yankees fan. But let's
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah,
That ballpark was a joke.
no, it was, but I mean, you know, maybe an international game like offense firepower. We'll see. I'm surely excited for it. Pearson and I will be up at I would say the break of dawn, but we will beat dawn to the punch.
Can we take
Wow,
a quick
great
detour because
line.
I just came up with a question and I want to shoot it out off the head immediately.
All right.
You're gonna.
Where do we think 2026 on? Where do you think the opening series should be at? Should it expand from Japan? Should they go to
I have a
Brazil?
good
Should
answer.
they go to Mexico? Where should they go?
I mean, I think there's precedent here. I mean, the whole like MLB World Tour stuff. Obviously, last year they played in Mexico City. They played in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Obviously, they played in Tokyo, London, and Seoul. I mean, that's 5 international games in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they rotate it to like maybe Mexico next year. I would be very unsurprised by that. Or maybe another Asian team. I don't know where else baseball is big. Maybe in Taiwan that could be a
Yeah.
picky.
Geopolitically, it could be
Geopolitically,
could be interesting.
But I think that would be the natural best choice, especially because surprisingly, Taiwan, or I guess internationally as they're known in terms of baseball, Chinese Taipei, is the #1 ranked team in international baseball.
Yeah, it's a
Their
very
point
good.
system.
I think Taiwan or Taipei for geopolitical reasons is up and coming in the baseball.
So I would love to see it there. That have like a new place to do one. I also think it'd be pretty cool to do it in San Juan. I don't know. I guess that's not really international. I mean, it is.
I think Santo Domingo should get it. I mean, that was what I was.
That was
saying.
electric
I agree.
too.
Yeah, I think
I-
I actually just I'm in a class at Northwestern. It's actually a Medill class at our journalism school called Sports and Society, and we just had a final paper. I just wrote like 2,000 words on baseball in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's a hype paper.
No, I hope it was. It was certainly fun to write, and it's really interesting looking into it because I mean there is such a rich history, and it's I think the Dominican Republic means as much to baseball as baseball means to the Dominican
Oh, I'm
Republic.
sure.
It's such a symbiotic like sort of thing, and they did play in Santo Domingo last year, correct?
Yes.
I think they should continue doing that
For sure.
because I mean they have fans who love the game. It's just, I mean, that is, like, outside of the United States, that is the baseball haven in the world. More so than Japan, more so than Venezuela, I think Venezuela should also get some games, could also be tricky geopolitically.
Yeah.
I think even
But,
arguably even more tricky.
Very
than Taiwan.
tricky. But, I think, I mean, theoretically, politics aside, I think Venezuela's, I mean, outside of the DR, that is the biggest representation of players.
I would also love to see one in Central America. I think that's kind of an untapped market.
Panama?
Oh, yeah.
Miguel
Panama.
Amaya?
Panama could be huge.
Geopolitically these days also.
Yeah, it seems like we're in a very
Disqualify a lot
geopolitically.
of
Possibly Nicaragua. They just qualified for the World Baseball Classic.
Never
Oh,
thought we'd
yeah.
be talking about like
Panama.
international politics
Yeah,
as much as we are here on Sports Voice.
I also think
I guess Pearson and I are just still locked in
Intro
on
to
international
IR, yeah.
relations. Yeah.
Oh, final grades.
Shout
haven't
out
come
Professor
yet,
Gil.
man.
Shout out Professor Gilbert.
That gives me a great idea.
Take it.
The winner of the the World Baseball Classic should have the right to host opening day.
That's
I
a good
feel
idea.
like that's a great idea. And then the question
And
that
the
arises
loser has
from
to
that
do an interpretive dance.
and then the question that arises from that is, okay, what if the USA wins? Okay, we can do an absolutely insane venue for an opening day in the States. For example, we can do Yankees Dodgers inside the Rose Bowl on opening day.
Do it inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Or that's a
do it
cool
there.
idea too.
Oh, they do the Bristol game, right? They do I think they do play one in a racing track. I don't know. I think they. I don't know. I think Am I right about that? I don't know if maybe I'm the only one who knows about this.
I don't know.
I'm not familiar, but I mean, I don't doubt you, Pearson.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, the MLB Speedway Classic is coming to Bristol, Tennessee this season.
Oh,
There we
wow.
go.
And they'll be
Exciting.
playing on a speedway.
I do remember that now. It's like the images are coming back. That's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
These games are so fun to watch.
Yeah, I like
wish
the
they
movie.
would
The
go
Field of
over
Dreams
more
game was
than
also so cool. I mean, you
The
could
Field
go
of
on
Dreams
and
game
on.
was
The
great.
Tim
Go on
Anderson
and
one
on.
was
That's
classic.
And the
that's
Cubs got
awesome.
one too.
I totally forget the Cubs one. Who
I
did they
think
play?
The
The Reds.
The Reds.
That sounds right.
My
forgot
big,
about that.
My big take
Rafael
for this
Ortega
spring
era.
is that, well, first of all, I think there should be a Ferris Bueller game at Wrigley. I think that would be awesome. I don't
It
maybe
should be a
love-
holiday in Chicago where like everyone gets a day off.
Everyone
from
gets a
school.
day off of school.
Yes.
That kind of defeats the point. 'cause
Yeah.
It's Ferris doesn't have a day off. It's
That's
Ferris
true.
Bueller's day off. It's just his day off. He creates his own day off.
Man, I want to
I'm going to be having my own Ferris Bueller day with some friends in the spring.
I need to do that.
It's a huge bucket list item. I will go to my classes, but on Friday I don't have classes.
I wish
and
I did
so,
that. Yeah. Oh,
you know,
man.
I think that there's sort of a way to make a day like that happen, and
There we
a
go.
Cubs trip would be excellent. But we do have to move on from national sports to our final segment ever as Sports Voice hosts, which
Crazy.
is Draft Day. Our snake draft, which I guess with 2 people will be pretty interesting. But in the spirit of March Madness, with the tournament coming up very soon, what are your favorite March teams? Either of all time, of your lifetime, however you want to go about it. And we started with Matt in Pick'em, so Pearson, we'll start with you.
Okay. Matt and I had a conversation about this earlier on. I think I have to succumb to it, unfortunately. As a Chicagoan, I think the team that is most memorable for me,
Oh, yeah.
the team that it's unsurprising. I mean, all my picks are always like some sort of Chicago related. But for me, obviously, I'm gonna go with that famous loyal Chicago team that made it to the Final Four. I think that's probably the most famous Cinderella run of the bunch. For me, that's also just brings a lot of memories because I wasn't in Chicago for part of that. Like, I was coming back from like a road trip or something. I remember being with my dad and just watching the radio. I think I talked about this last time, but I think for me that'd be my first pick. I think that's a natural one.
Okay, this is not necessarily a run, but I'm choosing this team for the gravity of the moment. UMBC back in 2018.
Good pick. Good pick.
Yes.
See that very. I mean, those are the 2 top picks. I think objectively it has
Yeah.
to be.
No,
You
I
good
would agree.
choice. I'm Maryland.
The
Let's
gravity of the moment, the first 16 seed to ever defeat a 1 seed, and a moment that I don't think
wait.
will be matched or topped in a couple of years. And on top of that, it wasn't a close game. UMBC dominated Virginia, won by 20. That's insane to think about. And I actually want to pull up Virginia's basketball.
They were so good that year too.
Yeah.
Like it was like such.
Yeah,
a, like,
I actually
what
want
the hell is
to
going on?
see how good this team was back in 20. Yeah, this was a team that beat Marshall by 40 points. This is a team that beat teams like Maryland, beat South Carolina. This was a dominant team back in 2018. And watching that live back then was absolutely nuts.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah, this team went 35-3. It was. I don't think there was a single competitive game that they played in conference. Actually, NC State took them to overtime, but there was not a single competitive game that they played in conference, except for their one loss to Florida State in the ACC tournament. But this team just straight dominated, and it was like this small college out of Maryland. You give them no shot, and all of a sudden, like, you flip on the TV in the second half, and UMBC's up 15. You're like, what's going on? What is going on?
Fun fact: that is the arena where I graduated from high school. So there we go, UMBC. Yeah. So I'm glad you picked that. But Matt can send another pick.
Oh yeah, right. It's a snake.
Oh, it is a snake.
Is it 5 or 3?
It's
3. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go NC State.
Last year, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
I just
DJ
feel like
Burns.
DJ Burns was such a fan favorite, and that team. I think everybody was pulling for NC State to win that, to win it all last year. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it was just so cool to see him like just grind through the entire tournament, and they were just a fun team to watch, especially that Marquette game. That Marquette game was so fun to watch, and they defeated Duke in the South. Are you kidding me? Like, how's that? One, who picks up first 14 to beat Duke? Nobody. So that's another moment that kind of went down in March Madness. Well, I guess nobody really thinks about it, but it's an underrated moment in March Madness history that nobody seems to talk about. So that's my second pick.
For me, I guess I'm gonna have a theme here. I'm gonna go with the 1982 North Carolina team where Michael Jordan put.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Oh yeah, I remember that one too. This is the one I watched personally, but this is one obviously Last Dance, all that type of stuff. I mean, this is what put the guy on the map, and probably was the reason why he went top 3. And I think that incredibly important for Bulls history and a very very clutch shot.
Good pick.
Yeah. Back when we were like -22.
Oh, yeah, that was
I
such a
remember
great
it well.
time.
Back in the, those were the days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. And I guess for my other one, let me think. You know what? I'm gonna go. This is probably not a good pick in terms of like the best teams in March Madness, but I'll go with Northwestern's team from last year. I think Boo Booey's kind of last time as a Wildcat and that big win in the first round. And also just like I remember I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know that I was coming here. I was just kind of like, oh, it's a Chicago team, kind of like Loyal Chicago, and to see them win that, I remember that, and I think that's probably made me even more excited to go here. So that'll be my third pick.
Ooh, my third pick. This is a lot. This is really tough because this could make or break me.
We could do 5 too if you want.
Could we do 5? Should we do 5?
We'll probably keep it to 3. Unfortunately,
We'll keep it to 3.
But
Okay.
there's a lot of good ones to choose from.
This team was on the back burner for me, but guys, being from the East Coast, it would be wrong for me to overlook St. Peter's. That run was just absolutely insane.
The Peacocks.
What was that guy?
Oh, I forget his name.
Doug Eby?
No. You're thinking of.
I'm messing
Zach
two
Edey.
people. Wait, his name was Doug. I know his name was Doug. Well, maybe I'll think of it when I'm falling asleep tonight at 2 in the morning. Hopefully not 2 in the morning.
Maybe Matt will think of it when he falls asleep right after this
There we
episode.
go.
In the OACR, yeah.
In the OACR. Yeah, but like Doug Eater.
Okay, I was
The guy with
close.
the
Eater,
mud.
oh,
the guy
I
with
was
the
close.
mustache.
I was very, very close. Okay, I was
Doug
in the
Eater.
ballpark. Okay.
But that team was the 10th seed to reach to upset a number 2, and the lowest seed to advance to the Elite 8 at the time. Like, you just had to have been there. It's one of those years. This was right after COVID, where fans had started to come back to sporting events, and March Madness had truly become March Madness again. Because watching the national championship, that Gonzaga game, Jalen Suggs hitting that game-winning shot, to see nobody in the stand, like that was just. It was just so weird to watch. And come back, the March Madness is officially back 2022. And this small school from New Jersey, from the middle of nowhere in New Jersey, ends up beating Murray State to go to the Elite 8. And yeah, they got steamrolled by North Carolina, but it doesn't matter. That school was just so exciting to see. They were such a gritty team, and I feel like under different circumstances, that team could have made a Final Four run, but that's my third pick.
Well, with that, it's time for Claire and I to make our final winner decisions of our tenure, which is crazy.
Wild.
Do you want us to give ours for our pick'ems first? And then
Yeah,
you guys can have
that's
the
a good
yeah,
one.
that's
So
it, okay.
first
Matt, I'll let you go first.
Our pick 'em?
Yeah, just so then they can get the final word.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, so NFL overtime and runners on second base and extra innings are both viable options. I feel like those have been talked to death, but I gotta give Pearson the win. Like giving taking away all-star appearances for losing to the snubs is an absolutely
It's a fun one.
idea. It's such a fun idea, and it gives people recognition that are right on the bubble, and it takes away. Yeah, you're gonna have people that complain regardless about, oh, this guy got snubbed from the snub team. Like, what's going on? This isn't an all snub team, but it actually gives people a chance. It gives the All Stars to prove why they're so much better than the bubble guys, and it gives the bubble guys a chance to prove why they're right up there with the All Star guys. I feel like that's a really, really good idea.
Make it mean something. I appreciate that, Matt. For mine, this is tough because 3 really good answers. Also, a random note. I'm not on TikTok, but I use like Reels and YouTube Shorts. I know it's kind of lame, whatever. I got an AJ Henning YouTube short, like from him. It was his account, and it was him like just like dancing.
No, AJ Henning's a TikToks. Like,
no,
he's a
but
TikTok
yeah, but it was him, and it was like about the offense running the same play and it failing again. And he was like mad at the coaches, and I'm like, dang, I didn't realize that like he was so openly was critiquing them.
Nuts.
With that, I think all of these are viable. I think I'll go with Sammy just because it's the most creative. I think.
Gymnastics.
Wow.
I think that.
No, mine was frisbee.
Oh, frisbee. Wait,
Yeah.
whis was
Also
Matt's
good.
was gymnastics.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
honored,
this is the
Pearson.
least viable one. I also
Yes.
think, from my opinion, I think I agree with Claire that hockey would be the best one. I think that I still cannot believe we don't have a hockey, or Northwestern doesn't have a hockey team.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome. I hope that someone gives this mystery down to have that happen. And obviously, I think gymnastics is super possible. Yeah, I mean, ultimate frisbee is super fun.
Let's go.
And I think that it's super random. And, why not? If we're the only team D1, then we have to win, right?
Right?
Yeah.
We never lost.
Yeah.
Every game's a scrimmage. So.
Exactly.
Well, I guess now Claire and I have to decide, which
Yes.
we were very indecisive. So this is, I am at least. I don't know.
No,
Maybe,
I
yeah.
am with these two. So our first question, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, was about WNUR's March Madness bracket competition. What should the reward be for the winner? What should the punishment be for the loser? Matt actually conceded here. He treated
Yeah,
the
that's true.
forfeit.
I did have a chance.
no,
I did
so
not.
it's
I
good.
did
No,
not have a
Pearson-
chance. I did. That was a
had
fight. I
an
was not
elite
going to win.
answer, which I'm definitely going to ask our sports directors about, which was that the reward, which I think might actually be the reward, is that you get to pick a road trip to go on to call a game.
That's fun.
But that the punishment should be spoken word poetry about how bad your bracket
Not
is.
fun.
I embellished on this. I think there should be an interpretive dance aspect as well. But that was a fun
Fine by
answer.
me.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Pearson for that first one.
And then the DIY one, so this is kind of our meta, right? The ones that they just told us who won. We're not going to tell them which of their prompts was better. Very confusing stuff here on Sports Voice. And I like both of these questions. I'm going to go with Pearson. This is something I hadn't really thought about before. And you know what? Maybe call it a quid pro quo, but he picked me, I'll pick him. No.
Okay. That was not the intention. That was not. I swear. I swear.
No. I do think that was a fun and creative
No,
question. As was, the rule change modification, because I do have the second base thing was definitely something I felt strongly about. So both
Absolutely.
good ones.
All right, and our third
pick.
pick'em, favorite Sports Voice memory. Man, this is tough. So Matt's was the day in his life on Instagram
Hey,
with
look,
Sports Voice
it's
in it.
Jonah.
Pearson's was that iconic Sports Voice with Jonah and Calvin,
Iconic.
where Jonah, Pearson, were in their and Sammy were in their Cubs gear.
Oh.
Calvin, the Commanders
Cubs.
fan. Matt, I love yours, but I think I'm gonna have to give Pearson the sweep here simply because I remember that day so vividly.
Pearson's
and
having
it
a
was
field
one of
day.
my favorite episodes of Sports Voice. So good job, Pearson.
Thank you.
Now we gotta look at these teams.
Yeah, I gotta say for draft day, I'm really tempted by Matt's team.
I think I gotta go
I
with
think
Matt's
Matt's
team.
team
I would agree with that,
is- yeah.
honestly. With the UMBC, I think that's
UMBC, like,
NC State and St. Peter's.
these
like,
are all teams that everyone
yeah.
remembers.
These
And
are all
everyone
teams
loves.
everybody loves.
right? Yeah, like, I
you know what I
loved both
that
of
was
these
awesome.
teams. So Pearson did really well in the pick'em, but Matt getting the dub in draft day, and with that, it's coming to an end. Crazy. Thank you to everyone who's come on Sports Voice, everyone who's listened to Sports Voice over the past year. Thanks to Claire, awesome co-host. Wouldn't have wanted to do it with anyone else. It's been a pleasure being able to do this, getting to meet so many people through the show, getting to talk sports every Sunday, right? What like Matt said, what more could you want?
Absolutely,
What
Sammy.
would you say?
It's really just been such an incredible year.
Yeah.
Sammy, as you said, really couldn't think of a better co-host. We've had an awesome run
Yes,
here.
there we go.
An electric run. As we
Electric.
like to say
Yeah,
here
we
at
got
SportsVoice.
to sign up with that.
Exactly,
Somehow. Yeah.
and to our guests Matt and Pearson, who have been mainstays of Sports Voice programming throughout the year. We're so grateful to you, to all of our other guests, most
Yes.
importantly to all of our listeners, our
Yes.
loyal parents and family members, and anyone
Thank
in
you
the
for
Chicago
listening.
area
Thanks.
who happens to tune their car to 89.3 and decide that they want to listen to some Northwestern kids chat about sports. We have so much fun. You are the ones who allow us to continue doing what we do. So we appreciate you so much. We've had
Yeah.
an amazing year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, with that, for one final time, we're going to sign off here on WNUR Sports. For Claire Connor, our wonderful guests, Matt Campbell and Pearson Strangquist, we sign off and tune in for the spring because we're going to have two incredible co-hosts. Not sure who it is yet, but two incredible co-hosts right here in the OSCR, continuing the Sports Voice legacy. So for one final time, Claire Connor, Sammy Krimstein,